You're listening to Kids Ministry Answers from Stuff You Can Use, from Stuff You Can Use, from StuffYouCanUse.org.
Hey everyone, welcome to Kids Ministry Answers. My name is Linda.
And my name is Jason, and this is the podcast where we help you answer all of your kids' ministry questions.
Yes, we're so excited to dive into another question with you. And even if we don't know all of the answers, we are happy to research it and come alongside you and help you find those answers. So that's why we're here. Hear a question from one of you. So let's listen to this question together.
Hey, what's up? My name is Jonathan. I am a kids coordinator out of Southwest Michigan, and I was wondering, how do you keep kids engaged, especially when their parents are serving, so they end up staying for multiple services? How do you keep them from checking out and becoming a distraction for the other kids?
Whoa. Jonathan Bailey
Ooh.
with the fire question today.
Yes. Hi, Jonathan. Thank you so much
Yep.
for your question. And thank you so much for all of the layers that comes with that questions. Because as kids ministry directors, we are definitely concerned about engagement. But yes, there are different reasons why it is hard to kind of prolong the engagement, right? Like keeping a kid's attention is just getting harder and harder, I feel like, as the days go by. And any number of you, all of you in kids ministry have probably asked a question like this or something similar.
Every week, yeah.
Yeah, right. And it's easy to tell when kids are having fun, right? Like they're laughing, they're giggling, they're running around. But it's harder to know that if they're really learning anything or if what you're teaching them is actually like sticking. And the hard part is you won't even know because they're not going to come and be like, I really remember what you taught me, right?
Right.
So that's why let's tackle this question of how to keep kids engaged in what you are teaching them, not just entertained, not just occupying their time, but really fully engaging and interacting with what they're learning. So Jason, we're going to walk through 3 steps to help us move beyond just giving a lesson, but really keeping our kids engaged. So where would you start?
Okay, so step 1, start with a structure. Here's the thing. No matter how fun, how deep, how creative our message is, if it's not organized well, it's just not going to connect with kids. And that's why we recommend at Grow that you build your teaching time around 3 key questions. What is the first question? What are we talking about today? So what? Why does it matter to God? Why does it matter to us? And then the now what question. And that is like, what should we do about what we just learned? And what this structure does is it really helps kids move from simply hearing this content that you're saying to actually being able to apply it in their lives. So it also gives you a framework to build lessons that can actually make an impact on kids.
Yeah. I love this 3-part structure. The what, so what, now what is a really great framework I use in my ministry. We use in our curriculum. And it really is such a wonderful through line for us to take one idea and not just be like, here it is, absorb it, but actually like fold it in different ways to help them really make it personal. And that's really only how it sticks, right?
Right.
What's a time when you've used this in your ministry and you've seen it be really impactful or successful?
Right. So all of these are important, right? Like the what, so what, the now what. But I think the biggest thing for me has been the now what section, because it's a game changer in terms of impact. And I think it's one that can be just kind of glazed over. It's the last part. So you're just you might be hurting for time, this and that. And the lesson that I was giving, I remember, was something around like God being close to us when we're far from home. And what we had our kids do that day was they did artwork for refugees that are in the Kansas City area. And we were going to put that artwork that they made into care packages. And as they were working, I just watched, as the kids are relating this kind of hard message for them to get of the Israelites being in exile, being far from where they're at home, and how that's actually going on in the world around them now. Like they saw that as they were making this artwork. And then also putting together like how God is close to us when we feel lonely, when we feel alone. And we can be a part of how God gives comfort in those moments. And as they were working on that artwork in the Now What section, they're kind of putting that all together. And so I think that part can be really cool. And all the parts, all the so what, now what, the what section are all a big part of putting it together. But that last part I've seen make a big impact on kids.
Yeah, that's an incredible point because I think there's a certain level of like detachment and dissociation that comes from a Bible story. And
right.
Not because it's not interesting or they're not interested, but because we elevate the people from the Bible or the time, like Bible times, to like, we like chalk it up to that was a different time, that was a different era. So a lot of what we are reading, a lot of what we're teaching, kids can automatically feel like, well, that doesn't apply to me now,
exactly,
right? Like
yeah.
That was then, this is now. But integrating that into this Now What section and to help kids really experience that, hey, like, Jesus Christ is the same, right? Yesterday, today, and forever. And so like this is the way that we really show kids that the Bible is living and active and we are taking the things that we're learning from the Bible and seeing that happen in real time. And that is just a wonderful way to help it stick for sure.
Exactly.
So yeah, thank you for that. So we start with a structure. Where would you go from there?
Okay, so step 2 is to add variety. Kids don't learn best, we all know this, by just sitting and listening to us talk. Sometimes we wish they would.
If only.
Yeah, but that is not the way they learn. So here are some methods that you can kind of build into your teaching time that will really help you keep variety in your teaching. Scripture reading is a big one. Let volunteers or kids actually read simple verses out loud. There's really cool ways to do that. Questions and polls is another way, and this invites fun. It invites them to think, get started on thoughtful answers about these fun questions that you might ask them. There's personal stories, which is a cool way to do it. It gets kids involved like emotionally and helps them to see, like you were talking about, how real life faith examples of this stuff actually going on in our world today.
Yes.
Images, videos, music, we all know using visual and auditory tools really does keep kids' attention. Shout out to Callie. We both love Callie and Callie's World.
Yes.
Object lessons is another big one, like using props, using visuals. If it's tactile, that's also good. Something they can touch, something they can feel. Activities. So this is like your games, your crafts, anything you do with your environment. It's always fun and gets them thinking about what we're going to talk about. Reflection
gets them
moments.
moving, right?
Gets them moving, gets the wiggles out. Exactly. Reflection moments is actually a big one. And this just gives kids a moment to stop, to sit quietly, to pray or draw, and just process the thoughts that are going through their mind. There's response opportunities. So this lets them take action. It's like what I just talked about with the art for KCU refugees. It's something that they can do, something they can get involved in, or something they can do like writing a prayer, make something that they can take home. These are all great ways they can respond. Prayer is obviously a big one. And a big part of this is helping kids to understand that they can talk to God in their own words. They don't have to have fancy words. They can talk to God just like they always talk. And discussion. So use simple, open-ended questions. It's always cool for kids to hear from their peers and get different ideas from what the other kids are thinking about. The reason why we want to do this is because every kid is different. And so mixing up the methods, the variety you have in your teaching will really help all the kids stay engaged right where they're at.
Yes. And this really speaks to Jonathan's question about how do we keep them engaged, especially when the days are so long and kids are just ready to check out. And honestly, even some of your volunteers are checking out because, they're like, we've taught this before. Yeah. Maybe this isn't even your first service of the day. So it's like, okay, we just did this an hour ago. And so how can we keep everything fresh and just keep kids expectant? And so having this variety really helps keep people on their toes to be like, ooh, what's next? Right?
Yeah.
It's like listening to a good song and like when there's that, that chord that's not resolved, you're like, I need to keep listening because this chord is not resolved and I feel tension in me. And so having like building it out in that way to help kids be like, waiting for like, okay, what's next? What do we do now? And not like, when is this over so I can go play with my iPad?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So I know you've had experience with all of these different kind of modules, like we call them in curriculum. Like you've tried all these different things. Is there anything that you found worked really well or something that surprised you as you were teaching them?
Yeah. So 2 of these methods that always surprise me when I use them.
Okay.
Number 1 is scripture reading, which I know when you just hear it, you're like, okay, I cannot be engaging for kids. You're reading scripture. But it seems like it could be boring. But what I've done is we use the sign language videos that are offered through Grow. And this provides a time where we actually take the video and we slow it down first, and then we kind of slowly speed it up.
Yeah.
So the kids are engaging with the scripture, they're reading scripture, memorizing scripture, but they're also learning this sign language, and they absolutely love it. Like they can't wait for it every week. And what we're doing is we're reading scripture. So I've really had that work really well. And the second one that doesn't seem like it would work, but it does, is reflection moments. Okay. And I know when we think of kids like sitting down, being quiet.
Squirming.
Okay. Yeah. How is this going to work? One thing we've done as big time Callie fans is we frame these reflection times with I wonder questions. I wonder about this. I wonder about that. And get them thinking about that. And then also pair it with some kind of thing like drawing that actually kids can sit down, they can think about these I wonder questions and see how it plays out through their artwork, through their drawing, through their writing. And it's always cool to hear the kids' thoughts after that, the stuff that they're thinking about. And you're like, wow, reflection moments really can work for kids.
Yes, absolutely. And pairing that with discussion as well is also really helpful, because the way that I grew up in Sunday school, I don't know if this is something that you've experienced as well, Jason, but a lot of it was rote memorization, like just memorize chunks of scripture, just read it and memorize it. Like, what else do you want? And also just like, here are the questions and here are the answers that I'm expecting to hear from you. So there was always this pressure of like, I have to have all the knowledge. And, like I did, because I was a nerd and I wanted to know all the answers and show off. But, the way that we engage kids is not to just like quiz them and be like, how much do you know? But to really come alongside them and like give them space to wonder and get curious and entertain their questions, even if it feels a little tangential sometimes, but really showing them, not only am I engaging you with this material, but I'm like really caring about you as a person because I want to hear what you have to say. And that furthers engagement as well, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I think when we used to memorize the way we used to, it was like they were just words, But when we get them involved with this kind of interactive scripture reading or reflection moments, it's actually getting kids to take it beyond like these are just words to what do I actually think about these words? What do these words actually mean to me as a kid? So yeah, it's super cool.
Love that. So we start with a structure and then we add variety. What would you do next?
Okay, so step 3 is build a rhythm. So create something that your kids can expect and trust. So at Grow, what we like to do is we build our teaching time around 3 movements. So the first is group engagement. Start with something fun. This is your game. This is your interactive activity. And then the second movement is teaching time. This is when you have your short message that's built around the 3 questions: what, so what, and now what. And then small groups. So use guided conversations, activities, questions to help kids, like what we've talked about, personalize what they've just learned. And so this rhythm, what it does is it helps kids know what to expect when they come into the kids' room. It gives your teaching more structure. And I think most importantly, it gives it a flow. Like you talked about, a through line. Like this gives it a flow that kids can recognize, understand, and start to engage with.
Yeah, this is actually crucial because if we stop at step 2 with adding variety, then that can get chaotic super fast, right? It's like, all right, we're going to keep you engaged by just throwing all these different things at you, right?
Yeah.
But then that actually not only creates chaos and unpredictability, but it really helps kids disengage because they're like, I don't know what's going on here and I don't know what's going to be next. I'm a little scared of it. And so they might detach themselves from it. But when you build these healthy rhythms, when you have these like routines, maybe even, or like just kind of repetition, and kids know that this is what we're going to be doing from week to week, even though the actual activity itself might change, when they know that this rhythm is in place from week to week, it will help them feel safe. It will help them feel like, oh, this is a place I recognize. I can open up. I can put my guard down. And so this is a really key point that you brought up. What is your experience with rhythms in your ministry?
Yeah, I think first I'll say like this can seem counter to step 2. Like, we want them to have variety, but then have a rhythm. And I think it's on us to put that variety inside of a rhythm that they understand and they expect and they trust. So for our kids, in my context, they always know we're going to start with a game because in our context, the kids are in adult church to start off the service. So they definitely have some wiggles that they need to get out when they get in there so they can expect that we're always going to do that. They know we're going to walk through scripture together. They're not going to just sit there and hear it. There's going to be some back and forth. They're going to be asked to say stuff. They're going to get out of their seat. They're going to move around. And they know that we're most likely going to see Callie or we're going to see the Grow TV crew, so they can expect that. And then they know that we're going to color or create as we discuss what we've learned. And that's kind of the way that we're going to wrap up our time together. And what I've seen over time is having this structure, this rhythm, it helps them to really take ownership of the time. And I see how expecting and trusting this, it helps put them in a headspace where they can really process these big ideas that we're throwing at them each week.
Yeah. I mean, and we think that it would only work for like a certain age group, but these rhythms are going to be really helpful to maybe if you have like a larger environment with mixed ages. Those rhythms are going to really like unify that group, right? Because they know what to expect. It's going to really help your volunteers to know like where they are and like, okay, now we're transitioning to this movement, as you called it earlier. And I mean, from my experience, like I have high schoolers in our ministry. We're a K through 12 ministry because we're a small church. And I was concerned at the beginning that my high schoolers were like tuning out and they were just like, this is so kiddie. But they came to expect a certain rhythm every week and that they didn't question it. And I'm not saying questions are bad, but they didn't like protest against it. They didn't take out their phones and just like, they were actually like engaging with what the kids were doing. And actually the biggest fans at our church of Callie's World, our preschool videos, are my high schoolers. They love Callie so much.
Same,
And so that's what having that variety within a rhythm can help with that engagement. Yeah.
And it's not a bad thing when like something you don't do and they're like, hey, why didn't we do that? Hey, why didn't like that lets you know that they're taking ownership of this and they've learned to expect and trust the things that they're doing and they like the rhythm that you've created for them. So I think that's very important.
Yes. Sometimes they're like our little reminders. If we forgot something, we're like, oh, yeah, that's right. Sorry, my bad. Let me bring it back.
We were going to do that. Yeah.
Okay. So great. We talked about 3 steps to help kids stay engaged during our teaching time and our ministry time together. We said we're going to 1, start with a structure. 2, we're going to add variety. And 3, we're going to build a rhythm. Right?
Yes. And remember, this is not about entertaining. We hope they have fun, but it's about more than that. It's about helping kids listen, reflect, and respond to who God is and who God is creating them to be.
Yes, that's so beautiful. And listeners, if you're not already a Grow user, as we've alluded to throughout our conversation, we both do help create Grow curriculum. And so if you'd like to see how this looks like in a week's teaching or in a month's teaching, try out a Grow series for free. You can find us at growcurriculum.org. And so before we go, Jason, let's ask something that we always ask each other during our meetings and also on these podcasts. What are you into?
Oh, man. Okay, what am I into? I'm always into what my kids are into, so it tends to be like kid things. Lately, we have been going back through the classics on Disney and just watching. So I think Moana 2 has been the one that we go back to over and over again.
Yeah, that's been a surprising hit among kids.
Yeah, and Raya. What a great movie that was.
Raya's so good.
Awkwafina as that dragon is just so we're going back to the classics in my house.
Okay,
what about you?
Funny because when you say classics, I'm thinking like Snow White, Cinderella,
okay,
Peter Pan.
Yeah. No, yeah. Wow, that is interesting. Yeah, we don't
for
go
this
back to
generation
those
is different.
classics.
Yeah,
My
That's
kids would be
too
like, no,
classic.
that stuff is too old. But they will watch the classics in terms of like Moana and Raya and stuff like that.
Oh, that's so interesting. I remember first showing the Moana film to my kids when they were younger, and of all the things in the film, they were scared of the coconuts. And I'm like, not the lava monster? You're scared of the little coconuts?
Yeah.
So interesting.
You never know. You never know.
Our kids have been fully embracing their Star Wars identity.
Okay.
And so they are coercing me to watch the Clone Wars animated series. So that's what we're into right now. And I'm learning a lot of Star Wars lore that I didn't know previously. So that has been an interesting journey.
Yeah, I'm trying to get my kids into Star Wars as well. We have a book about it that we read at nighttime.
Oh,
and
yeah?
I have an incredible Yoda voice.
Oh.
So
you want to sample
like
this. You want to sample that for us, don't you?
I don't know if I should, because I'm sure I'm going to mess it up if I try to do it live.
Disney might slap us with a lawsuit, so maybe not.
Yeah, maybe we shouldn't do it. But man, I think if you heard it, you would agree.
Okay, well, Jason / Yoda, thank you for hanging out with me and answering this question together. Thank you, Jonathan, for submitting your question. Listeners, if you'd like to hear your question on this podcast, make sure you submit your questions at the link in our show notes, and you could be on here and we could be answering your question together. So before we wrap this up, let's leave you with one question from us to you, which is, how are you keeping your kids engaged in your ministry? And what are some of the engagement strategies that we talked about that you are looking forward to trying in your own ministry? Until next time, can't wait to talk about your question together with you, Jason. And so hope you all have a blessed day. Bye.
Bye-bye.